There were a bunch in the corner there.
We're getting more. We have them all out. Already with questions tonight. I think so. Is it already? How many people are on? I can't even see. I have my glasses on. That's pretty, right? Yeah.
For 7 hours. So as long as you feed it, see over here.
Excuse me. Can I just ask a quick question? Is this a form just for school funding? Can other topics be discussed? Okay, you know, on that, please. I had a question from the township, but if they could be addressed at another time, I would probably come to another one of these instead of sitting here. Because I have no kids in this school, and I've never had kids in school, and I honestly I don't care less than
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, I know. No, I know. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that other things. That's at the end though, right?
I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, it's just very, just like, are they ever gonna pay this? The part that goes in, the part that goes.
We're not taking our collection tonight. You come sit up front.
And it's not. Are they?
we actually adjusted, I don't know my car.
No, because I use it every day and it's really convenient instead of having to go over 130. And I'm just thinking to myself, that my friends, the engineer said that you guys paved that stuff after the building, so I thought the building was done.
It's weather dependent though.
Okay.
So we're still in March, right?
Yeah.
And we actually, funny you should ask, we actually.
Because that's awful. I mean, the woodland portion is
Correct.
perfect.
It's so awful that we adjusted a portion of the paving contract to say. This.
Finished, but there are seats up here. Anybody want to sit down?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Want to grab a
It's
seat?
only like 500 feet of road.
I just want to be sure. So
Okay.
just.
Thank you for helping me. I'm sorry, because honestly, I don't have anything.
I thought it might be a quick answer.
No, that's absolutely perfect. Thank you for saving me the time. Right.
You can come to a meeting, but you don't have to come to a meeting.
I've never been to one of these before.
Well, today is going to be a specific one.
Yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with school.
Okay, bless your heart.
No, I really appreciate it.
About anything you need ever, I'm the PA, my name is Pat.
I'm Jeff.
Nice to meet you,
I
Jeff.
live over on Ritchie Avenue, so I'll be paying. I'll just send you. I just want to know, like, the plan. No problem. Thank you. Yeah, have a great night.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Now you have to work the same.
Okay. Sorry, babes.
I was like, oh, this feels weird. I just want to move that.
How are you?
Okay, folks, we're gonna get this started. Good evening. Thank you all for coming out on this beautiful February, March night. We used the weather to set the date. We knew what it would be, but you defeated that purpose by coming out anyway. We've got, it sounds like we have over 100 people that are streaming, okay? So as we go through tonight, we'll take our time to try to make sure that we get questions from the audience like repeated so that we can, make sure everybody hears it back at home. My name's Jim Bailey. I'm lucky enough to be the mayor of this great town. This is Commissioner Rob Lewandowski, Commissioner Morgan Robinson. For those of you that have never been to a town forum before, we have been doing them for over 20 years now. We love them. It's our chance just to talk, to go over, hear what's up with you, talk to what's going on in town, answer questions, comments, rumors, whatever you want to talk about. Invariably, someone over here will ask to put a four-way stop sign up, while someone over here will tell us we have way too many four-way stop signs in town. They send them down, but that's what we want to get. We want to get the info. I know most of you are here about the school funding issue, and we're gonna get to that. For that, I'll just tell you, we're gonna do a little bit more of kind of a presentation, kind of reviewing some of the things that we've been trying to get information out from the borough's perspective, our website, get some of the stuff that we put out, we're gonna talk it through. We have some of our professionals here to talk through some of those issues. We also, though, before we get to that, because we feel that's what most people are here to talk about, I do want to offer the opportunity, if anyone wants to bring up something else that we can try to address it. I'll give you one. I'll tell you that while we all mourn the closing of Wawa, we are scheduling services for next week. No, we have, I had conversation with the Wawa folks on Monday. I thank them frankly for being here as long as they were, because, you know, they're moving, everything's moving to the gas stations, they're super Wawas, it just makes so much more money. And we've been on the chopping block for years now, and we've survived. I thank them for that. Friday, or Matt Scooples told me that he got a statement from Wawa, but it's just rumor. I had already put a call into an attorney friend I know represents a family that has a regional chain of convenience stores that are in this area. I spoke with the owner yesterday. He's very interested. Our crew is putting information together for him. I spoke today with the property owner, the young lady, Ms. Detweiler, that owns the strip there. She's thrilled to hear it. Is getting us some other information. We're getting that over. So we've got some hope that we get something in quickly. I've heard from so many people saying, I need to walk up the street to get my coffee. And it's like, well, we never wanted to have to make it at home or go have to travel to Haddon Township's border. That would be awful. So that's what's going on. Well, listen, if they're a Wawa family, they're a Wawa. So is there anybody have any other issues other than the school funding that they want to ask me a question about, comment, anything at all? Yes, Lee.
Yeah, just follow up something I had sent you about unsafe sidewalks, impassable sidewalks. Trees
So,
around.
Yes, so I looked at it, Steve Diorio, Stephen, where you had it here, in the back, Stephen, I know you're not prepared to report right now, what was the street again, Lee?
Well, the one that's like the epitome of it all is, I think 651 maple tree hanging down, the garden is extending halfway across the sidewalk. And bushes are making you walk out the street, go around.
All right, I'll find it, Stephen's giving me that look, we've got a couple other things going on, but, well, I'll get the email, I'll flip it out to him again, we'll take a look, okay? All right? Anybody else, any other issue before we get to it? Yes,
Hi, Mayor, Crystal Ward, 325 Newton Avenue. I don't know if that's required tonight.
it is not.
I was like, preparing myself.
It's just, but I want you to know, this ain't Reddit,
Hey,
okay? You can be anonymous, but just be nice, that's all.
I don't know why that was directed at me.
No.
I like this lady.
But, okay, my question is related to the Wawa. Is it a done deal that it's gonna be replaced by a convenience store? Or is there some process that we go through to maybe vote on or take bids on what other type of business may occupy that space?
So we don't have any say over it. The borough doesn't, somebody renting it out, and all there is zoning, okay? So it's whatever they want to rent it, rent it out that fits within our zoning. I simply, since it was a convenience store, everybody seems to love it, have been a convenience store. To get another convenience store that is a good rep, a good one, and introduce them, have them all talk to each other. Something happens, it happens, if not, that's fine. The place is kind of set up to be a convenience store, so there's a good shot that there won't be great cost for either the landlord or the tenant to get in. So, no, but we don't, we have nothing to say, they could, anything that's retail that they come with, they could put in.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I was just curious.
No problem.
That's a big comment about this.
As long as they serve Wawa coffee.
Yeah. What was it? What else? Yeah. So, the speed line, the run under the speed line, we've actually, the lighting under the speed line, I'm thinking down at the parking lot, okay. All right, well, Patco, okay, so the question is,
Talking about.
it's related to the speed lines, okay? It's the lighting under the speed line kind of leads down, the lighting is out, it's been out for a while. So we'll contact Patco about that.
Months ago.
Yeah,
And I got two months,
Yeah.
go back to my thing, I said, things that they're very tough on them.
yeah, well, we need to keep them up, so we'll, or buy them a drink, something, we'll talk, we'll work with them, no call. That was a lot. Yes.
Hi, I live on the 200 block of and my street has not been paved for 38 years. Grass growing across every year. It needs to be replaced.
Okay, we will take a look. We had Rowan University do an analysis of all of our streets, came up with a study. Gave us like a list of like the worst to the best. 200 block of East Madison. 200 block of East Madison, request for repaving. Got it.
Don't forget.
What else?
West Linden.
And what's, and right in front of Tim's house.
Maybe it's being done.
Linden is being done. There you go. All right, what else? Yes.
I just feel that this, what we're discussing tonight is on the tails of doubling people's property values and causing them to have huge stress to begin with, especially senior citizens.
Okay.
And now this is happening, so I believe those subjects are together. They
Yeah.
wouldn't be just.
Answer that question.
You got it, you got it, you got it. So the question is that reval, the results of reval, coupled with what we're gonna talk about with school funding, then like that should all be talked about together, and that's fine, we can do that, we're ready to answer any of your questions about it. I'll just give you a little brief revaluation. Kind of it is required to be done when ratios, when the assessed values of properties hit a certain level below what the market price is, okay? And for us, it's been, we've been kind of outside that limit, and the last few years, we've kind of shot up really quick. That's a lot of places. So the rebound does not raise any more revenue for any of the taxing entities, for the borough, for the school board, for the county. What it does is it takes those same budgets and it allocates it differently based on your value. Okay, so the way, when they're done right, which ours seems to be okay, is you end up with a third of the people, their assessment actually goes below what the average increase was. A third are right about average, and a third are higher than average. So the bad news, so give you an idea, our average assessed value went from like 230,000 to 450,000. Okay, our gross value of the town went from $1 billion to $2 billion. Okay, so what that means is that folks whose house, it's good news, bad news. The good news is your homes appreciated more than 2/3 of the town. But what the bad news is, that means that your portion of the taxes that you're paying are more than what they were before. Okay, so it goes, that's how it works.
What's the appreciation based on?
So that's a whole process with the revaluation. There's an appeal process. We're kind of at appeal time now, but there was a mediation process where you can talk to the assessors that did the reval. And it's based on comparable values, it's other sales in the neighborhood, that's the kind of stuff it's based on.
Explain property.
I'm sorry?
Property freeze for the senior citizens.
So property freeze for
Will
seniors.
it be the same? Will it be?
So property fees for senior, I see Billy here. You're down our tax collectors here. Here, Billy, you're gonna talk about tax freeze.
Is
You
it
wanna go
a
ahead?
freeze or is it just a rebate?
So there's one other the New Jersey Stay is coming into effect. Oh, no, yeah, okay.
So there's a new program.
So filter down our tax collector.
Right, oh, no.
So there's a new program coming out, actually it is out, it's called the State New Jersey Program. We're gonna be having somebody from the Division of Taxation here, right here, 1 o'clock on April 17th. Do a whole presentation on it, explain it a lot better than I can. So it's brand new for everybody. You're gonna be everybody who received a blue booklet is gonna be getting a new blue booklet. It's gonna be a whole new application. And it's gonna combine the anchor program, the state of New Jersey, and the property tax freeze. And it's supposed to be a good program, assuming that all the budgets get passed.
Is it replacing them? Is it replacing all those three?
It does not replace the freeze. The freeze, so basically, so the state New Jersey program is if you're 65 or older, you're gonna be eligible for 50% a rebate on your property taxes, up to $6,500.
This year.
For 2025.
Next year it's up to 13.
If,
Right.
Okay.
50%. Next year it's 13.
you know that, yeah, okay. I didn't know, okay. So if you're receiving more, you're gonna receive the greater of your property tax freeze or the state of New Jersey program. It's all gonna be automatic. You're gonna fill out one application and they're gonna decide which one you're gonna be getting more of. It's supposed to be really good.
Is it affecting us now? The date of the.
April 17th.
April
1 o'clock.
17th at 1 o'clock here.
And we'll put that message out. a million
It's on our website.
And we'll report it and make sure it's available for those that can't use it.
Are there,
Yeah, what's that? Yes,
are there any representatives from the Board of Education here tonight?
there are members of the board who are here attending, but they're not like formally here. Okay, this is no meeting, listen, tonight's meeting on school funding is for us to kind of go over where things are from our perspective and to hear from you. Okay, I'll get to that, I'll address that in a little bit. Let me finish any other questions, okay? All right, yes, yeah. Did we ever resolve trash company, lawsuit trash company? I don't know that that's been resolved.
It is effectively resolved. We're no longer engaging with our previous vendor, basically.
And
Yes, correct.
no, we haven't recovered anything back, because they were making claims.
Correct.
The trash was contaminated, like it just. We moved on with our new trash. Us, and somebody else that helped out. Okay, Lee, you already have one, give me a minute, give me a minute, bring it back. You have somebody over here, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a point of clarification of the library right now. A lot of us got babysitters, being good about that, to reconsider out there.
Yeah, and I want, we're here for a town forum, I know you wanna talk about it, we're gonna get to it, try to address the other issues, because I think that might take a few minutes. And so we're gonna let some folks, if they, you're just for fixing a street, we're gonna let them get back the answer. And go. We're going as fast as we can. Okay, you got it, thank you. It wasn't just for that, it's a town forum, and we're gonna talk about that, okay? Yes, yeah. Are you asking to gather you two? No?
We just live together.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about Haddon Avenue, and we're known as the restaurant town. But at this point, I know the restaurants are all struggling. And there's a lot of for sale signs up in town for the bigger buildings, and they've been sitting there for over a year. Some places, Di Bartolo's, Tobin Insurance, and these people pay taxes. If everything goes down, I mean, the restaurants, there's hardly anybody here on Thursday, just Friday, Saturday, they're all struggling. What's gonna happen to the town then?
So, listen, it's not, so the question is like, if there's an empty spot and that concern that the restaurants like keep their vitality, like what can be done? So I'll tell you a few things. First off, at the start of every year, that's when we have like the worst rash of vacancies, okay? Because businesses that weren't doing great, they get through Christmas, okay? And then they go. So this happens all the time. But what I can tell you that the Ocean First Bank, like we've moved on that. We've got a development project that's in process right now. It's gonna have 9 residential units above, commercial on the first floor. We got parking, public parking now is gonna be in the back. Tobin, I am told, is under agreement. I got a call today from a developer that is building at the old Japstrand site, kind of on Haddon Avenue. It's been cleared that with the zoning's all set for commercial on first floor with 4 residential units up above. The Bartolo's has been difficult because the bakery had sold to a hedge fund in New York. And their idea of value of that property is a little different than any of ours, including even our rebound assessors. It's a little different. So that's been tough to move, and that might be something that we have to get more active in to try to move it along to get it used. So there's folks interested, like there's still a lot of interest. Servo here Town server here? No. Is he? I heard a voice. He still did, he calls me every couple days and like, I got this guy here, this guy here, this guy here. How do we work that? There's still the interest, okay? So that's the positive you can take. And every winter after Christmas, tell you, that's where like, looks.
No, it's been
And
nice.
Sign you with what?
sometimes the waves are bigger than other times, you know, like sometimes it looks like there are multiple properties and there are, and sometimes there are fewer. We do have new businesses coming in, where Healthy Garden was, we have Kidley Bagels coming in. We just opened a brand new thrift store. All right. We just had a really fight for Mario's famous cookies, so while there are businesses leaving, there are always businesses coming back in. It's the evidence of running a business.
Yeah, it's keeping the interest. As long as we got active interest and people look at come, we still have. Who else? Oh, man, there is no double T. Go ahead. Go ahead. Underlying questions, this counts.
Can you tell me the speed limit on Browning Road and Collins Avenue?
Look at the chief, 25? 25.
Yeah, well, on Browning Road, they're doing at least 40 to 50. And my neighbor on the corner reported at least a half a dozen collisions on Browning and Collins.
Was it?
No one stops at a stop sign.
We're well aware, that's not a special corner. You can go to any corner, okay?
On special.
And folks, yeah, I know, but it's not special and people like not necessarily obeying stop signs. We are doing enforcement as much as we can. I'm telling you, since pandemic, one of the lines was airport rules, like nobody has to follow, you go to the airport, have breakfast at 11 o'clock at night, like no rules. It is, we're doing what we can in terms of enforcement. So that's all I can tell you. We're looking, you're specific on Haddon Collins. We've asked our engineers just in the last week or so to do a study, right, Kevin? Yeah, to do a study of that. The only thing that we have ever found to be effective to slow people down is physical changes and improvements in the road. Okay, that's it. Put all the signs you want, but the bump outs, the blessed fountain, making you go the other way. Those things slow down traffic. Okay, the bump out front of the school at the high school, at Atlantic and Collins, those plastic poles that have been there, like that project is coming to make that all permanent. There's gonna be permanent closure of it. So it may be a possibility. The difficulty on Collins there at Browning is it's a county road. It's a traffic light pretty close. Those traffic engineers don't love that stuff, having it that close. But we may be able to do some kind of bump out or something there to slow it down. That's the only thing that does. Put something in people's vision that they stop.
You're gonna have somebody killed on Browning Road.
I know. Yes, sir.
I live on Garfield, which is a cut through for the apartments down. Can we get some speed bumps down there? You got the school at the end of the street.
Yeah.
They come from those apartments racing down through there. Even though there's stop signs, they're still racing.
And we'll look, but I'll just tell you, we have not done speed bumps because they just damage the cars that are going quick. They don't stop them from going slow.
Speed.
They go slow. And I can tell you from other towns that have done it, they all have said to me, don't ever do this. Because when they put them in, the people that live by the speed bumps hear those vehicles going over day and night. And that becomes an issue.
Well, you hear
okay?
cars racing up and down.
I got you. I hear you. Okay. All right, we are gonna try to roll the school. Go ahead, Tim.
Those businesses that are like the bank and the other project you were talking about.
The bank at Oceanburg, yeah,
The other one,
yeah,
developed to be developed,
yes.
are they gonna be 30-year pilot projects?
No, the one at Oceanburg is not.
Okay.
They'll probably be part of a 5-year, the residential. The units, well, whatever they're gonna do with Jack's Camp. I think the first call I got was I had them under agreement, and I was gonna sit down and talk about it, so I have no idea.
All right.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
sure. All right, real quick, go ahead.
With the track, a couple of things that can be done about this, but I've noticed that, weekend in particular, over the last several months, people are parking in their crosswalks. And I know we're short on police officers and there are much more things they can be doing, but.
No, it's not. We got them all out of it, don't worry.
Can you repeat it?
It's a question is about people parking in kind of the crosswalks, really where the bump outs are, where the yellow striping is, people like, they think that's a parking space. Right, those like yellow bold lines.
So there's
means park
DoorDash
here,
drivers.
Means park here.
I think it's really important for us, if we're a town that is.
Walkable,
Like walkable, and we want to keep revenue coming into the town. That's, and it's a danger.
Got it, totally understand. Yes, sir.
The Cleveland and Oakland, students, do they pay to come to the college school?
Yes.
You know, I'm not on the school board, I can tell you, probably get that answer when we post it online, I don't know exactly about it.
Because their borough paid the borough, or they paid school district?
They pay school district.
Yeah, okay, one more, that's it, we're gonna go start the school stuff, yeah.
Question, is there any way we can have a crosswalk on Battlewood where the kids, the students going to the middle school and high school cross over on Eldridge, I think it's Eldridge. They cross over going through the high school and middle school in Battlewood, and there's nothing there for them for their safety. Also, if you're gonna put a crosswalk in, the high schoolers, they have a crossing guard in the morning, but the high schoolers, I know, they're gonna cross no matter what. So could you put a crossing guard there at the cafeteria? Where they cross anyhow, I'm there every morning, so you stop at the cross guard, but then all the high schoolers are walking across to the cafeteria to go into school, and I get it, they're walking that way, so they cross, but at least can we make it safe?
Okay, so what,
Two cars, yeah, you could do two crosswalks, one on Battlewood, and they could consider doing another one on Collings in front of the high school by the cafeteria to be safe. The police officers are there, they know they're crossing there.
okay,
at least
so
give them an area.
just for everybody else, the questions were about putting a crosswalk at Bettlewood, getting a crossing guard over at the high school.
There's a crossing
We're,
guard there.
the chief has been scribbled all down, taking it, we'll take a look.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
But
You got
the Bettlewood one, we recently met with, residents in that area. With county engineer, with our own engineer, the idea of improvements there, that was included. The idea of putting a crosswalk there and some other pedestrian.
Talk about the changes.
Yeah, it's a total reconfiguration of that intersection. So to make it four-way instead of what it currently is.
And then, but extending to Eldridge,
Right.
crosswalk there.
Yes, correct.
It's not gonna be a 5 points anymore. One of the roads, one of the pieces of road are taken out.
Okay,
You're doing
yeah,
away with
good
the five?
crosswalk.
Okay, that's happening at the 5 points at Metalwood.
The base of Bettlewood in the
With the triangle, so it's triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the pieces of the road are coming out, they're rerouted, county's rerouted.
Just very quickly with the,
Yeah, no.
very quickly with the crossing guard as well, we are working with the DOT for Safe Cross to School and reevaluating all of our crossing guard posts in town to see which ones are servicing the student population the best. So that is one of the things that's brought up, and we're looking at all 17 that we have.
You have any other questions there? What?
Yeah. We have a couple that just don't relate to schools if you want to get through them real quick.
No, okay, we'll go through our, yeah, okay, all right, so we're gonna talk about the school funding issue. In it.
Don't expect any more.
Well, we can take some more questions if you want, okay? So, in a nutshell, because I know, here's some people who are very, very intensely involved and know everything that's going on with all this. And I also have a lot of folks that probably their first notice of this was the letter that we sent to them, the postcard that we sent to them. So we're tonight going to try to touch on, do a little bit of more of a presentation than we usually do at these town forums. Going to kind of walk through where things are, talk a little bit about where we're headed in terms of, at least where we are in terms of proposing solutions. And we're really here because we want to hear from you, okay? We want to hear your input, we want to know what you're thinking about. Before I turn it over with my dear colleagues, I want to thank our team, the borough team. We were asked, by resolution on February 10th to, make this major, commitment. And since then, this borough crew has worked tirelessly. We assembled a little team of professionals that have experience in school finance because we never deal with it ever. So we committed them to it. They have done yeoman's work. It is, as you will hear, it is very complicated, it's very intricate, and I want to thank all, because it was really, it's just a Herculean effort, all the stuff that's been done in a couple weeks. So with that, I'll turn it over to Morgan. Anything you want to say to get going?
I'm really glad to see so many people here. This is such an important issue. It is a complicated issue. It's a nuanced issue. We are excited to be working on it. We're meeting with the board tomorrow. We're really encouraged about that. So we talked a bit about it on Monday and we got some really good feedback. We're so in it that we'd love to hear from outside the box. There could be creative funding and creative ideas that just aren't occurring to us. And that's the spirit of collaboration that we're going for tonight.
Okay, so Rob Lewandowski, go ahead, Rob.
All right, changing slides, we're getting somewhere now. You know, one of the things I think that, I think it was Otto von Bismarck that said, those that enjoy good legislation and good sausage should see neither being made. Right? That policy making and sausage making, you know, you're getting a glimpse of a lot of it because all of it's very public, right? And you're saying, well, this isn't normal, this is absolutely wrong. Well, I think the Kaiser back in Germany and Rob Lewandowski today is telling you, no, this is pretty normal. Maybe the scale of this and the enormity of the issue is larger than something we're used to. But the idea that this is something that's anxiety ridden, right? I think someone said that before, something that you know, we're all worried about, and we have questions about, is normal. And governing is a process. And right now, you're gonna have a lot of questions, and some of it you're gonna say, I want answers. And for some of it, I'm sorry, we're not gonna be able to give you an answer for that. But the process is ongoing. And now you, as you've been through emails, through other ways, stopping us in the street, are and will continue to be part of the process. So, at any rate, we're here, it's in the borough municipality, we've been asked to be a part of this. Kind of one of the things I wanted to share with you was sort of some of the principles that sort of underlie what we're doing. And I think this is important because sometimes there's a lot of he say, she said, there's rumor mill, sometimes there's criticism that's legitimate and those are things that we think about and consider, and sometimes not. But ultimately, I want to make sure that you sort of understand where we're coming from. So, look, you probably already read it and just want to say, shut the heck up, Lewandowski, but I'll say anyway. The first thing I just want to say is, you know, we want to help address the school budget shortfall, right? Like the idea that we're not on the same side as the school board is not true, right? We want to do it, and I think we all want it, right? We certainly don't want the option. How we do it is still out there, but we want to address that. Find savings, tax, neutral solutions. Why is that important? Okay, so we've heard 3 million, 3.6 million, these numbers as if they're just anything. Those are big numbers. And we want to make sure that everything we can do is to make sure we're squeezing as much efficiency into things and finding ways to sort of maybe lower that number down and the burden on all of us, right? We're all in the same boat, right? We're students, we're parents of students, we're senior citizens, we're residents, we're all in the same boat, and we'll float or we'll sink together. But sometimes what will sink us is a little different. Right, it might be a little different for a senior than someone who's struggling to make ends meet. And one of the things we want to make sure is that we're finding those savings, those efficiencies, because, you know, we want to limit that burden. Think creatively, you know, a lot of times the stuff we're stuck on certain messages, certain variables, and we want to make sure that we think outside the box. Sometimes we talk so much to each other is that you can lose sight of things. So having you all here, speaking to professionals, you know, it all matters. You know, recognize that there's a need for an immediate fix, right? Which, you know, the school has to have the budget for the next, you know, month and a half. And then also there's a sustainable fix. And those might not be the same thing. right? We may have to do things, budgets and one-time financing and other things that can get us through this year. And then that also buys us a little time to really think things through a little more and find things that are sustainable. Because we don't want to come back here next year and do the same thing, the next year after that, and the next year after that. So that's the last, and then the last one is, just be open and transparent with the community. Look, I'm gonna say some things tonight, and there's a couple of you, or maybe even 100 of you, who aren't gonna be happy with what I have to say. But we're gonna talk honestly. If I don't know the answer, I'm gonna tell you I don't know the answer. And we're just gonna work on this together. So your feedback's important, and if it's not today, it's later, you think of something later, we wanna hear. And, let's just keep going. We got babysitters to pay.
Sandy, where's the like stuff kicking?
The rec plan?
No. Mike Garcia's the account stuff.
Oh,
Mike,
I,
next after this, okay.
yeah, I don't have that version. You have it.
Yeah,
I did look, it's not in this copy. Okay, so let me just review real quickly what the issue is. So what has been asked, there was a resolution passed by, well, no, let's just talk about generally school budgets. School budgets are determined by the Board of Education. They decide how much they're gonna need to run the school year. They're limited by the 2% cap that the state imposes. It's the same 2% cap we have as a borough, okay? On operations, it works for us the same as it works for them. The 2% obviously does not work in a world where your health insurance is going up 15%. And the costs are going up 8%. Like it is when they adopted it, I remember when they adopted this, I testified in front of a couple legislative committees. And told them like, look, eventually, you're just gonna tell us to turn out the lights, okay? Because the costs are going above what that 2% cap is. And that's what the school board is up against, and that's what they're trying to find an answer. Let's go, oh, I got it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so the specific ask is, there was a resolution. Future pilot, $3 million. Okay,
just let me focus, just to make sure it's clear, that bank thing is not bank money, it's bank the right to raise money, to raise taxes, right? So there's no money sitting there, it's just we have the right by statute to raise them.
so, well, listen, the fun with the presentation, I want to say is, did the communications prepare this? Or did an accountant prepare this? Did a communications person prepare this, or did an accountant prepare this? So I want to turn it over to walk through some of the basics on borough funding, school funding, just kind of go over some basic ground rules with everybody. This is Mike Garcia. with our auditor firm. Michael does a ton of municipal and schools, and we're gonna let him take it through some really exciting stuff. Thanks. I also have with me Deanna Roller, an associate with the firm. She's worked here in Collingswood for 35 years. As the mayor said, our firm, Ford Scott, we're in Ocean City, New Jersey. We audit about 48 municipalities, 1 county, and about 50 school districts. So we get pulled into these discussions every once in a while, too often. And what we have here, though, is just to reiterate, the school district is what New Jersey calls a type 2 school district. There are actually 2 types of school districts in New Jersey. In a type 2 school district, which we are here, it's an autonomous body. Your board is elected by the voters. They set their own budget. The statutes require, once again, as I said, that the Board of Ed members are elected directly by the voters. School district bonded debt must be authorized by the voters through a referendum. And then finally here, the school district budget and taxes levied are authorized by the Board of Ed, not by the borough. The borough itself has nothing to do with the management or control of the school budget, levying of the taxes. We all come in, everyone here comes and pays taxes to the collector. And you may think that all of that money is going to the borough, but only a small portion, less than 30%, stays in the borough. The vast majority of your municipal property tax bill is going out of the borough to the county, but then of course to the school district. So the portion that the borough controls is only about 28% this year. Obviously everybody's aware there's a rebound. So comparing last year's numbers to this year's numbers become more difficult in the rebound. But to put it on an equal footing, the tax levy that the borough has introduced for the 2025 budget is increasing the borough taxes by about $150,000, which is just over around 1.5%. So much less than 2% levy cap. This $3 million ask from the board would create an additional, it's about $171,000 on the $450,000 property. $450,000 is the new average assessment in town. Yeah, just one more thing. Yeah, here we go, perfectly. Okay, this slide, what we've got here is just as a reminder, and this schedule here up top, J9, comes directly from the school district's annual audit, and it's just a summary of 10 years tax collections that are made by the borough, but then remitted to the school district. And the most important thing here in the red box, we've got the comment that school taxes are collected by the municipal tax collector, but under New Jersey state statutes, the municipality is required to remit to the school district the entire property tax balance in the amount that's voted on and certified for the budget by the Board of Ed. So once again, the school district manages and maintains their own budget, levies their own taxes. The borough's only piece in this puzzle is collecting it. We collect it, and then we remit to the Board of Ed. All right, I'm ready for the next. What about pilots? Okay, the payment in lieu of taxes pilots is a tool for encouraging investment and making projects financially feasible when they might otherwise be not be. Pilots are done for a variety of reasons, and they address issues such as affordable housing, environmentally contaminated sites, and abandoned properties. It's important to understand that each pilot is unique and was created for different reasons. Many pilots have generated new revenue for the town that did not previously exist. There are currently three older development pilots in town. Parkview, which will be ending in 5 years. Pewter Village ends this year, 2025 is the last year. And Lumberyard ends in 2038. Just before we roll a little further, the payments in lieu of taxes, when those agreements are created, the properties don't pay property tax. They pay the pilot payment instead, and then it's phased in.
Once the pilot agreement is over, those properties go on the tax rolls and pay property taxes in the same rate as every other property. Can these funds close the gap for schools? There's currently not enough pilot funds to cover the $3 million gap. The borough uses these funds for things that they're responsible for providing in municipal government. The borough is, however, reviewing pilot funds without cutting essential municipal services and to ease the Board of Ed's immediate funding. Right?
No, we're gonna take questions when we're all done, thanks.
All right, so does the borough already voluntarily provide school district with additional funding? And the answer is yes. Annually, the borough provides tax relief to the taxpayers by appropriating a voluntary appropriation for school purposes. In 2024, that amount was $222,500. And in the 2025 budget, which has been introduced but not yet adopted, it currently has an appropriation for the same amount, in the amount of $225,500. Where does this money come from? The money that the borough is providing to the school district. Before I get into this, as a quick reminder, it is somewhat unusual for municipalities to make any contribution to the school district. Here in Collingswood, the borough has historically contributed to the schools, but you will see if you look at budgets across the state of municipalities, very few of them actually make a contribution to the school district. We do it here. And the money comes from those three pilots that we talked about. The agreement to produce revenue to the borough that helps offset the costs of municipal services. They provide tax relief to taxpayers, and as we said, they provide the funding for the appropriation that we do make to the school district.
So hang on one second, Michael, I just want to talk on this screen. So, and kind of preview, we are meeting with the board tomorrow. We have a meeting with the board tomorrow. Well, with the superintendent and the president. We have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. And it is to present to them a plan that we have put together. Okay, we're going to touch on it later on, comprehensive. One of the things, the two things that the board asked with respect to the pilots, okay, is to, on existing pilots, it is to increase the payments to the schools by 10% from the existings, okay? It has also asked for us to contribute 50% of any new pilots that come on board, okay? So I want you to know that within this plan, we've done substantial work to get to those goals, okay? To do that, the only trouble with all that is Parkview ends at 30, Pewter's gone this year, Lumberyard goes for a little while, so the number substantially drops, okay? And that's just, so for short term, that's a help. For long-term sustainability, not so much, okay? I tell you what, we'll ask questions at the end, okay? All right, so do we have a slide talking about the new ones? Sam, we don't. The new pilots, not really. Do we can I touch on that later? Q&A. Okay, so let me talk about it right now. So yeah, that's right. So the request was for 50% of new pilots. Okay. 5 years ago, the borough announced that any new pilot that we did, we would be taking a substantial portion of that revenue and dedicating it to recreation fields, arts facilities that could be shared by the schools and the borough. Made that announcement. We've been doing it. The only new pilot there is new 900 Haddon Ave. It's a really high pilot. It's 85% of the improvements with no land tax credit, which in the world of pilots, go find me another one that's set that high, but we have it set really high. We have been dedicating from that payment 80% of the revenue into, in essence, an escrow fund to be used for shared recreation arts facilities, okay? Today we have, I don't have the number on the top of my head, 130, roughly 130 is 130,000 is accumulated from that, okay? So the board's request on the new pilots, we're doing more than that now, okay? They're asking 50, we're already doing 80, all right? And that's going in, and we have it set aside. That's all part of the plan. I just wanted to go over that. The asks that we have were part of a really comprehensive plan we'll touch on later, and we believe we've addressed it, okay? It's all good. Oh, yeah.
Okay. There seems to possibly be some misconceptions on how the pilots that the borough has entered into, how they affect the school funding. And we just wanted to address some of these areas. The first here is, got a question. Do the pilot agreements affect the school district's ability to fund schools? The answer is no. New Jersey schools are funded predominantly by local school taxes and state aid. School taxes that are levied are subject to the 2% cap. The important thing here is the cap is on the total dollars levied, not the rate. And why that's important is the total dollars levied can only increase by 2% a year with certain adjustments, but it's 2% a year. So regardless of how high your ratables go, your school district cannot tax those additional ratables. So when we get here on the next item here is, so we said property taxes are one of the main funding sources, the second being state aid. The property taxes are capped at 2%. The Department of DOE on the state aid calculates when you're figuring out your state aid and your funding for the year, they calculate the district's adequacy budget for the district. They then subtract the state aid that the DOE will provide. The difference is what the state terms local fair share. You've probably heard this local fair share. Due to the fact that the district tax levy is restricted by that 2% cap, it is not unusual in any school district for the local fair share and the actual school tax levy to be substantially different. Because that 2% calculation is required regardless of what the local fair share that the DOE calculates may be. So here we say the state aid number 2 is the hole in the funding formula. It does not recognize the school funding formula. It does not recognize the fact that the 2% tax levy cap will prevent the district from being able to get to the local fair share amount. There's possibly a misconception that when a district is below the local fair share, that possibly is the borough's responsibility to bridge that gap. That's not true. Nowhere in the funding formula does it state or infer that the municipality is expected to make up the difference between the local fair share and the actual school tax levy. As I said earlier, it's very rare for a municipality to make any contributions.
But can I ask you, while we're on the screen, I want just one question is, if, when we get to 2030, just as an example, Parkview comes off of a pilot and goes into the rateable base. I think it's valued at like $130 million.
I have a slide on it.
You do? Yeah. So my question is this, the question is just simply, when the pilot ends and it goes into the rateable base, does that get more money, okay, to the schools? Okay, go ahead.
You'll read an upcoming slide on that.
You got it.
Answer that.
Yeah, okay.
But because, like I said, the main funding for the school are your local property taxes that are capped at 2% and state aid. So when it comes to calculating the local fair share, the state uses basically, I mean, it's a very complicated formula, but if we break it down to its bare components, it uses enrollments, equalized property values, and resident income to determine the wealth and the need for the district, and then that subsequently helps determine what the state aid will be. So, do the pilots impact any of these 3 areas that create the state aid and the funding? First, enrollment. Whether you have a pilot property or not has no effect on the district. So the district enrollment is not affected at all by the pilots. Equalized property values, still no effect, because the pilot property values are included in the state aid calculation as if they were property paying, properties to begin with. So when the state is calculating state aid, if you have pilots, they're taking those property values in anyway when they're coming up with your calculation. So there's no effect on the state aid and the funding related to pilots. And then finally, resident income. Obviously, the pilots have, resident income has no effect based on whether or not you have pilots or not. So the three main components of determining state aid and school funding, none of them are affected by the pilots. The next page. Now, here we go. What I've done here is I've used your district's 24-25 budget as an example as to what the effect of the pilots are. And at the time, you see, I've got a column for if the property is a pilot or if it's taxable property, and then what the difference is. And you will see the difference column, there's not a lot in it until we get to the bottom. I'm gonna go through quickly. In 24-25, the district's budget was $38,678,000. So, that's the required spend, $38,678,000. It's funded by first $102,000 surplus funds, a small amount of federal aid in the general fund, small amount of federal aid, $48,000. Tuition revenue, 8.1 million, miscellaneous revenues, 508,000, other state aids, 123,000. Finally, your formula aid, that's what's driven by the state aid formula, 11,024,570. So once we back off all of those available revenues, we end up with what your required tax levy is. So the required tax levy for the 24-25 year, 19,900,000. I'm sorry, the total revenue that we added up here was 19,009,000. The difference is the tax levy, labeled A, the 18,765,000. You'll see. So with a pilot or without a pilot, there's no difference in the budget or the various revenues. What does change is in 2025, and once again, I'm using the 2025 ratables based on the reval. In 2025, the taxable property is $2,069,000,000. That's without the pilots. Okay. We added pilots as taxable property, same number. Okay. But when we just go ahead. Now, so the pilot, so right now, for your property taxes, your property tax rate is based on the $2,069,000. If those pilots were converted to tax-paying properties rather than pilots, we're adding in, and I estimate 163 million. It doesn't matter how much what the estimate is, because you're going to see that the difference is still going to be zero. But we would have higher rates. In the first column, our tax rate for school purposes, so we're going to have an increase of ratables of 163 million. Right below it is the tax rate, 90.7 cents as a pilot. If we added those ratables from the pilot properties, everyone's tax rate would go down slightly by what, 6.6 cents. Okay, so your rate would go down. But the dollars, and we're going to see here, the dollars that the district can levy doesn't change. When we move on, once again, we said we've got a 2% cap. The next item here is D. That tax levy that we began with, 18,765,000, the same other number, whether it's pilots or not. When we 2% of that number is $375,301. When we add that we get maximum tax levy is 19,140,000. If we have pilots, or whether those pilots are taxable property, the tax levy is still the same, because the tax levy is restricted by the 2%. The 2% doesn't care what your rateable numbers are. The only thing that changes is everyone's tax rate goes down, but it doesn't provide additional funding to the schools. The school district has estimated that the local fair share is 27,700,000 of $40,342 with a funding gap of 8.6 million. And you'll see here, the funding gap with the pilots or without the pilots, it's the same. It doesn't change. Because once again, the reason for that is the 2% is on the levy. It does not care what the ratables are. You can only levy for school purposes an additional 2%.
So I just want to go over this a little bit, because I think there's this perception, and there's some people saying this, that if there's no pilot, like if the 130 million at Parkview is now a rateable today, okay? The budget that the school has adopted is at the max that they can adopt, okay? It's the 38,678,000. It's at the max that they can accept. So when we have another 130 million of ratables that now are being taxed, what it means is that entire budget gets spread out over some more property. Okay, and so we all pay a little less. Okay, it'll cost a little less. And that's the kind of, when we did that Parkview pilot way back when, we did 6 public meetings in every neighborhood school, took people in, and we showed them, this is what it's going to cost you in additional taxes to cover for that, okay? But if the pilots ended today, the schools would have the same budget issues they have today. Okay? Tell you what, I'm sorry.
Same amount of money. Our taxes go down.
Tell you what, Paul, we're gonna, the way, in case I didn't mention it, we're gonna have questions after we get done. Okay? I know, thank you. Yeah, so we will, we'll clarify as we get, one person asked for it. Thank you. So it is with whether there's pilots or not, the rateable base expands, okay? But the tax numbers don't change. I tell you, you just gotta stop talking while we're talking, please. So give everybody a chance. Everybody will get a chance. Go ahead.
And that's it for this slide. Got it. All right, this is probably the best.
This is better for me. Okay, so we have worked on, and we're gonna present and go over with the board tomorrow, a plan. We talked about it Monday night at our commission meeting. We talked with a few different groups, kind of vetting it out, trying to hear what's right, what's wrong. We're not going over tonight for really, we want to present it to the board leadership first. In case we're missing things, we do not run schools, we don't know. We're presenting it to them, and it is really trying to hit like all of these different buckets. It's not just trying to fix a shortfall in this year's budget. It's trying to address that, but it's also trying to address the long-term sustainability of the budget. It's trying to address some of the goals from last year's referendum. It's trying to address a lot of different issues in a very comprehensive way. Folks that have looked at it to give me their thoughts, I can just tell you, it takes them a little while to digest it all. There's a lot involved in it. It means a pretty big commitment from the borough. It's got something we think that the district leadership will like, and some things they don't want, they won't like. It's all gonna be issues in my world, the lawyer's world. The best settlement agreements are one where like nobody's had. But we're working on trying to build a plan that gives some long-term clarity and ability to sustain our schools. We recognize there's an issue, and we were asked on February 10th to help out, and that's what we're trying to do. Okay, so I take that. Any other close?
All I'm gonna say is when we're gonna open it up for questions, but maybe what we can do first is if there are clarifying questions first. Something I didn't understand first. Let's try to get to those, because maybe that'll get everyone on the same plane, and then we can get into just anything. Does that help? So was there a clarifying thing you had? Yeah, go ahead.
They will be.
We're gonna put them on tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, they'll be up. It'll be up. Okay, we're opening up the floor.
Clarifying?
Oh.
Clarifying? Let me go here first to see it.
Okay, I know it was mentioned earlier, the
$450,000 fallout from the $3 million budget gap. What that 450 actually. Okay.
$450,000. Yes, sorry. $450,000 is the average assessment. Okay, that's so $3 million is the potential tax increase. The 450,000 is the average assessment of property in the town.
We got some questions online.
Just a request to repeat the questions.
Oh, repeat it. I'm sorry. Sorry. The question was what's the 450 number? 450 is the average assessed value. Yes.
Some numbers about the pilot revenue.
Right. Yes.
And I think, I didn't capture, but it's somewhere around, okay.
Right.
So my clarifying question is that, if I understood correctly, that's $2.5 million in revenue that goes to the borough budget.
That's correct.
Okay, and.
222,500 of that we pay over to the schools.
So we have $2.5 million coming in and about 220,000 goes to the school. So my
Yes.
clarifying question is, how is the balance of that pilot revenue spent?
It's spent for the most part, so it's only been at this level of number for like the last couple of years. Like it's kind of, it's a ramp that goes, it's at 30 years, and it's a ramp that it's been a lot lower, and at the end it really ramps up, okay? The balance of that is used for infrastructure work. It's not used to support the borough budget, okay? It is used to cover infrastructure work. We're putting a ton of money in our water plant. With PFAS, it's going into infrastructure, kind of one-time capital expenses is what it has been budgeted for and going into. It's aggressively paying down some debt as well. That's what it's been going into. And listen, that's all was announced. We did all that stuff 3-4 years ago. Started saying that we basically take the borough's budget is not supported by that number.
And you wanna do that, you wanna do that because those are they're gonna run out. And you don't wanna make it your operational thing, so when they do run out, you go, God, how am I gonna pay for these firefighters? How am I gonna pay for these police officers? How am I gonna pay for public works? So that's why we put it into capital.
Yes, sir. Blue shirt. Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Service,
Well, so the question has to do with on new pilots, the board's asking for 50, we're doing 80%. He's troubled, I guess I would say, by the shared aspect of shared fields. But yeah, curious. So I'll tell you, we met with the board 2-3 years ago, went over that this was our plan, okay, that what we were going to do. It was at the time right after the referendum for the fields failed, just for the fields, a couple of years ago. And we met with them and said, look, if we get other projects online with pilots, that's a way to get new revenue that we can direct to that without taxing everybody, okay? So we told them then we would dedicate it, and the idea was that the complex behind the middle school, high school, that we would jointly work on doing something there and be able to share it. Like we want travel soccer to be able to play, high school soccer to play. Like do it in a way that we get broader community benefit and get the schools on as well. And that's what we met with them, we went over it, that's what we did. And that's what we've been doing, okay? And we have that money set aside. We have in our plan, like, look, I keep hearing everybody's, it was coined by somebody, the 5-alarm fire. Like there's a 5-alarm fire. So we know there's a 5-alarm fire. Maybe we gotta do something different with that money, okay? But we also, so for now, part of our plan, like we could do something different with it, but we would like to get the school finances sustainable so that we could go back to doing something like that because everything is the top priority. Like we have to try to keep all of it going, okay? So that's what it is. That's what that new pilot is, okay? Let me just do this side. Yes, sir. No, you can ask any question now. You're good. Doesn't have to be clarified. You can tell us for all. Yeah.
My understanding is from real estate taxes, some goes to county functions, some goes to municipal functions, and another portion goes to schools. And I want to clarify the comment about that the borough doesn't contribute anything to the school district. My understanding is what Collingswood Borough is contributing towards the school district, that percentage is substantially lower than neighboring districts, state average, numbers that I've seen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Percent versus 50.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it, don't worry.
So please explain to me about
Sure.
transitioning of funds from this site to that.
Would be happy to, okay? I think the best example we've been able to come up with, because you need to think of it like when you pay your mortgage payment, okay? And there's an escrow for your homeowner's insurance. Okay, you have your homeowner's insurance sends that bill to your mortgage company collects your principal and interest and the escrow, they take that in. And they send the check once a year to your homeowner's insurance, okay? The way that local government works is the borough decides its budget. We come up with a number. The Board of Education decides their budget, they come up with a number. The county comes up with their budget, they get a number assessed to Collingswood. We never, ever make a decision or talk about how much money should go to the schools. Never, okay?
Good.
It is, ignore the peanut gallery here. It is always done by the schools. And the point is that the school budget is at the max the law allows them to be at. Okay? So when the state aid, with all those ratios, and they talk about local share, and Michael, you can talk to this too. They're not talking about the borough government paying it. They're talking about the borough taxpayer paying it. And what Mike was laying out for you is that the difficulty when that number is calculated, on that fair share, because the cap was adopted 15 years ago, towns can never get to that, okay? Because you can't raise your budget that much. So to answer your question in a nutshell, it is the borough government does not decide how much money out of $1 in taxes you send us. We don't decide what goes to the schools. The schools, we get a bill, and we send them 4 equal checks for the amount of that budget. That's it.
So let me, I can answer your question. I think I heard it a little different, so I'm gonna try to answer it. So you talked about that that we're at what, 47% of schools get here, whereas in Haddon Township, it gets 54%, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. Okay, so my apologies, I do not have the slide to show here, but if you go to collingswood.com, there's the fact section, and there are the fact sheets back there. Sandy, right back to the bar if you haven't gotten them yet, which actually shows what explains it. And essentially, it is fire department and library. So Haddon Township does not have a professional firefighting force. They are part of the county library system. So their municipality does not tax through the municipality that. They have a special fire district to do it, but they don't do it through them. They pay their tax for the libraries through the county. So if we take that out, and my apologies for not having it here, but the fact sheets are there and it is online. Collingswood actually goes, if we take out our fire and our library, it essentially goes to 53%. Whereas Haddon Township is 54% and Audubon is 54%. So essentially we're the same. So in some ways it's an apples and oranges comparison. So we look at it, I looked at it going down 27%, 54%. That's outrageous. Apples and oranges, fire department, library.
But it's not just Haddon Township.
But the example here is the example that being used.
Let's try not to just yell out. Let's try to go through. That's okay.
So the other thing I'm just gonna point out, because it'll come up, right? The local fair local fair share, right? Yeah. And so when you hear the data, you see 83% is what Collingswood pays towards its school, towards its local fair share, while Haddon Township does 96%. Haddonfield does 96%. So I looked at that and said, wow, we got a problem, right? And in and of itself, it sounds like a problem. I would warn that you have to be careful by just looking at one variable and saying, aha, this says everything, let's take action. Because there's often more context and other things to look at. So somewhere here, 83%, right, Collingswood. So if we looked at what's called the TGES, it's the Taxpayer Guide to Education Spending, the state data that's there. Collingswood at 83% spends 24,700. Haddon Township at 96% does 23,500. And Haddonfield does 20,700. So they're 96, but they're spending less cost per pupil than here. Now, what does that mean, Rob? I don't know. It depends. We can look at it and say, it doesn't matter. We as a community want to spend more money in our schools. That's fine. There are actually ways through, we'll talk about later, through referendum to exceed the 2% cap. You can do those things. But when I looked at 83 compared to 96, I said, wow, we got a problem. When I looked at cost per pupil, which takes all education, takes transportation, special revenues, pension benefits, state by state, all those things, the numbers show that Collingswood's spending around what the other ones spend. So, you know, that's another data point that says it's a little more nuanced. But I just wanted to kind of share that because it's related to the idea of saying we're doing 47% and the other panels doing 54%. It's a little more nuanced.
Before you injure your arm. Okay, go ahead.
Are we gonna declare we're talking about creative solutioning?
Yeah, so whatever you want to talk about.
Alright, so I have 3 questions on this. So 3 things, and to be fair, I have a job where I manage areas.
Yeah. We'll get, I will repeat, we'll repeat.
Alright, so
Okay,
I'm
almost in that.
And I have 3 kids in the Collingswood School District, very much in this, also love budgets, that's what I do for a living. So I have 3 questions here. One, have we explored economies of scale? It's pretty ridiculous that you have an IT department, the school has an IT department, we have trash, we have a lot of the same services. You can save a ton of money on contracting benefits, overhead. Is that part of the proposal?
It's part of shared services.
Shared services.
Some of them, but the idea is can we do that? And including transportation, but.
Well, no, we want to go into what the budget is with the shortfall to see where we can do things like that. Transportation is another big one. Transportation to schools, would say, it's like going up $1 million, okay? It's going up like $1 million. So there are places we want to look at for that.
Okay, because I think economies of scale, if you look at the budget, and I've gone into the budget, there's a lot of spending on both ends that if you choose to either side. And unpopular opinions, then I might be opposite thing, right? You don't necessarily need to have an included. So another thing that I have a question about then is what about capital assets? Have we looked at acquiring any of the school district's capital assets and then essentially coming the landlords back?
We have not at all. We haven't really haven't looked at the budget, see how it helps, but there's a new state law that makes it much easier to do that process, actually even for new capital assets, okay? So
But that's not.
we're open to talk about it, yes.
But it, like,
And it's a little bit of a part of like this plan that we put together that's going tomorrow.
okay, so it is being discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, and then my last question goes back to the question of that gentleman asked, which is the percentage. And we do have a private fire department here, we do have a private police department here, and we do have a private library here. Have we ever explored joining Camden County's fire department, police department, and library system to save our overall budget so that we can then reallocate?
Sure, so.
And how do we go about, advocating for that?
So we have done, looked at county library, it's evaluated every 2 years. There's always been a consensus to keep our library, okay, but it can be evaluated.
Who does that?
It's done between, the county's always making a pitch to get it to come in.
Yeah.
Okay, always made it fit. But I don't know, we haven't got to the point yet where like there's a consensus that we need to move in. Having our own library has always been something we've had in town. We can look at it.
Okay.
Police and fire, there is no county fire system, fire department, okay? There's a county police that only polices Kansas City, okay?
And Woodland,
They would,
and Woodland.
and Woodland,
And-
yes, and Woodland, yes. So we can certainly look at that. I can tell you in the past, when we tried to just consolidate services with other towns, hasn't been a whole lot of public support. But certainly something to be looked at.
Yeah, I think that's where you get back to the economies of scale, right? Like, do we really need to be, sorry, paying a teaching salary for ours for a small, when we're right next door and literally our police station on the border. There, so. These are just things we were looking at, because again, this is not just the school budget, it's not the school budget and the town play together, and we're all kind of, we're all playing the same sandbox, and we should be looking at this at the broader level, where we kind of keep this. Volunteer to budget.
That's why we're here.
Yes, yes,
Me?
yeah, Billy's got it, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Neighbors,
Baseball.
everybody. I don't know about you, it's been kind of crappy negative here. I think we should have Mr. Rogers energy in here and help the helpers. I'm curious about teachers and securing that and. You know, it's all about sustainability and the way she's
So the question
Yeah.
is,
Is,
okay,
they're not.
yeah, just repeat that again, please, sorry.
Alright, sorry, I was just saying that, hi. I was saying, you know, it's been kind of a negative year, there's some negative energy. I was hoping for like Mr. Rogers energy, helping our helpers. I was hoping to find out if part of the sustainable solution involved keeping our teachers here, because that's what makes us think good.
No.
Contract idea behind the whole, because I love our teachers.
So this was first put on the board's agenda, first we got notice of it was February 10. And that night when we went, we told them like, we're ready to roll up our sleeves and do some work. And that one of the things that, if we're gonna do this, that had to be done is the teacher's contract has to be resolved, as well as the contract. There's other contracts expiring in June, okay? In fact, we asked that for the board to, and the teachers union to kind of waive their labor rights protections so that we could also be involved to try, as we're fixing the budget, make sure it's fixing the contract issues. Okay, we have a proposal about that in our plan. So far, that hasn't been agreed to. Let's put it that way. Okay,
I'm moving forward with it.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was like, that's what.
Got it. No, yeah.
Solid, right?
Yeah.
I think solid school, solid area, no, they're here, and stay here. I think that's what I'm worried about, is that when schools start disintegrating, the community starts to, you want restaurants here, you have a good school, you have good teachers, you want them to stay.
All in the same boat, right?
All right.
It's not,
Yeah.
one thing, we're all going down together, we're all making.
No,
Listen, nothing in the world matters more to me than my 3 children.
Right.
And I moved here a while before the schools, for
The
my children.
teachers are.
And the teachers have literally saved my kids. It's been, they're extraordinary, so absolutely.
okay, yes, sir. You want a microphone?
Yeah, can we give them?
Well, we can repeat.
It's up to you. All right.
All right, I got, so I'm a little new to this, so you'll have to help me through this one. So this $3 million that the DOE is asking. Do we know what it's for? Is this for teachers? Is this to actually help improve their quality of life, make sure they can get adequate pay? Or is this going someplace else to, you know, buy a new building? Secondly, if they ask for this $3 million, we as citizens have any vote on whether or not we want this to go forward? If it's for, you know, a CEO salary or something that we don't believe. Good. Go ahead.
So, everyone heard the question, right? So, remember when I said before that we're in a process and we'll have, there's some answers we don't have? We don't quite have that answer. We've asked for working, what's called the budget and the working budget and the papers and stuff that sort of talk about the assumptions and the plans moving forward. Hopefully when we talk to them tomorrow, we're gonna get greater insight on that. It is a very important part of this, right? So, don't have an answer yet. We talked about sort of getting through and then sustainability. We want to make sure that, that we have the resources to, to teach our kids and to provide a positive educational experience for every kid, right? From the AD kids to kids with IEPs, and by the way, my kids fit into all of these things and everyone in between. But we're not doing the gold building twins, and no one is, right? The school board, for the record, the school board is not asking for it, and something like that, but we are very mindful, and the question of where the money in future budgets is going is important.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right there. The other one come back.
The other one came back. The other one came back. No, the other one came back. We have the mic.
Where is it?
We have the mic. We give him a mic. Morgan has to give him that mic.
Oh,
We have it.
you said we.
Whatever.
That was a comedic interruption.
Okay, the vote number one on page one says state funding formula. Did anybody hear the reason why there was a big change in state funding formula? Because this big change, and the budget, causing a big shortfall. Secondly, is the state who did this, formula, are they aware of what they're causing in towns across the state? I think that's about it. The previous guy answered my third thing was, I just want to know that this budget that the BOA presented is legit and not just, numbers thrown around. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I enjoyed watching you jump around.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, what do we got? This side, yes? Oh, okay. We will. Oh, hang on.
Can I just put a little answer there?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I'm just gonna say, it's crazy that New Jersey puts so much of an emphasis to fund our schools on property taxes, right? It's a crazy model, and it's not universal in other states. Because your house is worth something and you have a great job, you'll pay X. You lose your job the next year, you're paying X, right? And ultimately, it's not based on income, it's value of a house that maybe a senior citizen has had for 35 years. And so, right, those numbers keep going up. It's very crazy. So just the point is, Collingswood in the new budget lost 0.96% in their budget, $100,000. And in other towns, it went up to 3% loss, I think, and township lost 3%, some others gained. I think it's the last year of of the state phase of what they've done, and school districts gotten beat up consistently a little bit. And it is a crazy system.
Hey, can you go to the slide on the pilot funding for like the number of things?
Right there.
Well, all right, so how I understand. I don't understand, I think it said, and I just, it's clarification. If 2.6 is coming in today from them, those people are in the pool, they're not deciding to not
because if you generate that money, you have the ability to dedicate it and spend it in a way that adds to a school budget, a borough budget. So that's why on the only one we've done, we said, instead of putting it into the budget, they could be taxed, put it into the budget. Schools raising the same amount, we're raising the same amount, we can't raise it anymore. Instead, this is now extra money that we can put toward, we did this, it is, we did, we got a line item. We got a line item with 130 grand sitting there, okay? That was, and we did this with the district, okay? We both agreed, good idea, we'll do this to spend it on something that we could all use to get outside. At the time, the referendum has just gone down, we're looking for other ways to get revenue to do it.
My second point was, I think we're all in this room for the same reason that we want the schools to be flourish, right? So I feel like this whole room and community is all for this together, but really it's the state's problem. And I feel like we are not fighting the fight in bigger aspect. And I am all for volunteering to sign the letters, or I'll do whatever it takes. Like, why are we getting in trouble?
No, we are fighting the fight. I'm dealing with green ball office like, yeah.
We're all sticking, right? Like, people, I'm sure.
Email them.
We're done. We'll be the gate.
We're not alone. No, that's okay, it's all over. Absolutely.
Very educated, and there's a lot of people that are standing here and wanting to say, let us do our part.
Yeah.
Right, in our neighboring communities, we could, I mean, not to say we can't band together even with our neighboring communities. Like immediately we're putting out the fires, right? And then, and right, and we're considering both of those things. And the long term, 100% has to include pressure. As a state. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Two questions. The first question is, more than comment, we're an hour and a half, excuse me, an hour and a half in. And we've heard mostly why it's not your fault. No one said it was your fault, right? So the one lady over there asked for creative solutions.
Get to your point.
Okay. Everybody relax. Everybody relax.
Let's just.
Relax. Go ahead.
It's all right, it's all right.
One lady had asked some really pointy questions about what can we do, right?
You bet.
Stephen and Bridget have done a tremendous amount of work
Yeah.
to put data together to show where every. And at no point did they point the finger at any of you three to say this is your fault.
You didn't say anything?
Right? But you spent an hour and a half defending yourself.
No. Go ahead. Make your statement. Go ahead. Go ahead. Make your statement.
So what are your creative solutions? And why are we having this conversation before you talk to the board tomorrow about what your plan is? To this mysterious plan, I guess.
Yeah.
That, what is it? And someone back there asked, did the school district just make up their budget? Did anybody check it? Look, budgets are approved by the state and audited annually. This is not the school district just being like, hey, I want to spend money on this, right? These are audited budgets. It's not just made. So to push blame back on the school district or to push blame on the borough makes no sense, right? All we want to do.
It's it. Go ahead. Easy. No, please. Please. No.
And lastly, I'll finish. I'm sorry. You made a statement that made it sound like you asked the CEA to give up their collective bargaining rights so you could come in and help negotiate. Is that what you meant?
No, I actually said at a public meeting, the February 10th meeting, I said, I was asking the board and the CEA to agree to let us get involved, okay? As part of looking at the current, the 25-26 budget. So that we could look at it to understand it, because that night, the one issue I brought up, I talked to the president right after the meeting, I said, one of the things they highlighted as a big jump in expense was transportation, okay? And Morgan and I were sitting together, and I right away turned to her and said, well, why don't we buy a couple buses? We could run a bus company. We had a trash company call us up one morning and say, we're not coming in picking up your trash anymore. So we went, bought a couple trash trucks and started our own little trash company. So I'll tell you what, I let you make your statement. Let me answer your question, okay? All right, so that's why. I didn't ask them to give up their collective bargaining rights. I asked for us to get involved together as a partnership. Try to fix the revenue issues and at the same time settle the contract. Thank you, we're going to the next person, go ahead.
Asking about the budget, asking them about their budget is not to find anything that they're missing or anything that needs to be cut on their budget. Professionals, they have this. It's so that we can see what we can combine to the point of shared services, seeing what we can work together to do. And the reason we're doing this tonight before we meet with them is so that we can get some of these ideas and possibly incorporate them into this plan that we're gonna present, and we're presenting it to try. We're not saying, this is it, yes or no, we're saying, let's look at this, let's see where we can go with this, let's talk about it and move forward with a collective plan and some putting out the fire. They are not here to put point fingers.
Go ahead, we'll do here, you'll go right back, so it's right now. Hang back.
Just want to clarify a specific thing. When they roll off, the pilot and they become part of like property tax. I saw that it's sort of a still capped at a certain amount that does that alleviate the tax burden of residents in Collingswood? Yes. So if we're all very concerned about a $600 increase, have we modeled out what the 5 year out from now would drop it so we could get to a net understanding?
It was 6. It's on the slide, it was 6.6 cents, which is $66 a year on $100,000 assessment. So when the pilots are over, you would, the Collingswood taxpayers would get a $66 decrease per 100,000 of assessed value.
So on $450,000 a house. What would that be? Yeah, and so, but. No, I hear you.
Yeah, and totally get it, okay. So the point there was simply that when the pilot, part is the big one, when that ends, it gets rolled into the taxable base. It would decrease people's taxes on the average home by 66. By roughly 60. On the average home. Dollars per 100,000, 66. So roughly $240 on the average home. It would be a savings of roughly $240 on the average. That's what this discussion.
And that's where we talk about the sustainability. And that's where we talk about, you really do need to think things out, right? What grants are gonna come off the books? What new revenues can we anticipate? What can we do now? What can we hold off for a year, right? Like, it's kind of like a whole budget. I can't replace my roof yet, but I can do it 2 years. So having that sense of that number is a very important thing to know. So we do 1 year budget, but you're also looking at it. So you point out a good thing, an important part.
Yes. First, I want to say, the assessment when we had Sutton and whatever computer village we had for us. I was right in our figure. That's improved our towns. They put that in. Big plan. So,
Okay. But just let the man make.
Have we looked at the economics of making our school no longer a choice school? Where we're bringing in students from out of town? Does that save us? I'm sorry, I missed it. The economics of not being a choice school district.
So does everyone know what a choice school district is? So Collingswood has, X amount of seats. When there are available seats, is we're part of the choice program that allows other students, usually from, you know, different districts, less performing districts, the opportunity to come here. We get the per pupil cost for that student as tuition. So what I would say is I don't know. But the schools would know. My sense is, you know, they're probably filling a seat in a class that's already being offered, you know, generally, so it's not adding new teachers. But I don't quite know. That's it's a good question. I think ask the school board.
Yeah, so go explore. Yeah, you bet.
So just a couple of questions. One relates to, the, by using the cap that we have, that we permanently ensconce in Swansea. The burden of finances with the school district from different clear, like if we did that rate of $3 million, through the levy. That's $300 a year or more that, for 2 months.
So can we take it one at a time?
Sure.
Okay, the answer to that is yes and no. The answer is, you know, the ask is not a 1-year fix and then it comes off the tax rolls. The difference is it's still a municipal, you know, it's still a municipal thing. Every year, that school district would have to come to the municipality and say, hey, can we have $3 million or whatever it is, versus the idea, right? And you've probably heard this before, it's funny we haven't talked about it here, but the idea of, you know, the school district going out to referendum to exceed the 2% cap, in which case they control the money in future years. So the answer is, yes, the expectation is that money is going to keep growing. The difference is there, and you know, I served on the school board, I think you know that, is if I was on the school board, I would not want to be beholden to municipality and other elected officials, because we could have an issue that Robert Poole, you know, sings and we gotta spend millions of dollars, but it's just not the year. I can't go to the whole city. Shut that, they're wrong.
The other thing is just that somebody else that comes in, it's a hell of a campaign.
A hell of a
I'm gonna
campaign.
cut your taxes, you know, we're not doing that anymore, so it's
So-
just,
so
it changes
creates
things.
a mess
Yes.
That is complicated.
Yes.
So that's thing one. Thing two, so in looking then at creative solutions, it seems to me that finding time through something other than the tax authorities, with the levy mechanism makes more sense, to buy time. And in buying time, then you create space to bring more leverage, bring more pressure with the states. Also explore whether there is a true referendum to do, get it in the school districts, control, fix the structural benefits. In thinking about solutions for a temporary fix, for example, what's the potential role of the income?
Question, so the question after, not that Jamie talks for a while, but the question from the lawyer, all those words condensed to the end is, what's the potential for cannabis? Okay, revenue. We have one spot, and we actually did a little digging, we talked with them, just to get an idea of how business has been. And it's not gonna solve our problems, okay? It's not, like, it's not so, yeah, so if you wanna, but we have discussed and told the schools before that, like, that's a source of revenue. Back in the day, before February 10th, the discussion was a revenue source for fields, you know, share recreation stuff. Now, like, different, but it's certainly a new revenue source that we can look the same way. Support the schools, go buy some guns.
And then just to follow that, can you do tax anticipation notes? Could you do tax anticipation notes as temporary borrowing for the gap?
So the question is, can we do tax anticipation notes? You're getting way ahead of me here. We can do tax anticipation notes. So there's provisions under New Jersey law that say, usually it happens when, you know, something really bad has happened to a town and they've got a bad shortfall. You know, back in the day when we did Parkview was behind in our taxes like $1.5 million, okay? Huge impact. And when you lose that revenue from the town, that example I gave you about the escrows and paying the escrows, like if we don't collect $1 million from somebody, we're still legally obliged to pay the school their full amount, the county their full amount. So there's this thing called a tax anticipation note, which says, if you got a short-term issue, you can go out and borrow the money to fill your gap. Usually it's done to borrow and pay the schools of the county, and then you can repay that note over like 3 years. You can kind of take a loan so that you get your revenue back next year and spread it out over a couple of years, okay? And for this, no, you can't do it. Okay, no, we can do it for ours, okay? No, legally you can't. Because we can do it for ours, but like, it's really set up if you're not collecting it in. And it's a, you know, if our biggest taxpayer falls, close up, go ahead.
A tax anticipation note assumes that you are anticipating collecting an additional tax.
Right.
So if you're not going to levy an additional tax, the tax anticipation note provides no back revenue, because you need to raise, you know, in order to make this happen, someone has to raise the tax levy. And the anticipation note is just that there's, as Mayor said, a short-term timing difference, because you may have one or maybe several properties that are paying slow, but it doesn't negate the fact that you have to levy the tax that you anticipate collecting.
Yeah.
And in terms of the
Cannabis, we're as low as you can.
Yeah. In terms of the cannabis revenue, as Marcus exaggerated,
Right.
you know, when we were on board as quickly as we possibly could have been, and it dragged and dragged, so that even that's where we're not seeing that windfall.
This gentleman over here, yes, sir.
I hope I'm not being redundant. I think perhaps I am. They're asking for $3 million, right?
Yes.
You don't know what the hell they're gonna be using it for. No, that's a lot of things.
We have not seen the budget.
No, you don't know what they're going to be using. And I have no say by voting on referendum or anything like that, on whether or not they should get it. And the last time they asked for a bunch of money, the people of township voted it down. Right now, we don't have we had good information about what they wanted to spend the money for back then. Right now, we don't have any information.
Teacher.
Okay, all right, just everybody, no, well, okay, that's, okay. No. Everybody, let's try to go one at a time, okay? No, it's not, that has not been stated, okay? No, it hasn't. Go ahead. Go ahead, make your statement.
If it's to do this, it's to do that. We should know what it is before we even have.
Okay, here you left. Okay. Okay, so this is the question about why we're having the meeting today instead of after we talk to the board. So this is all going real fast, okay? This is one of our town forum meetings. We were having a town forum anyway. It was this night. And I started hard trying yesterday morning to get a meeting with them right away, and they're not available until tomorrow. So we're meeting tomorrow, okay? That's it, that's all.
I told my right here.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Then well, to express my word. I have one point I told them. To anyone who is not part of the Board of Ed meetings, if this woman is in the room, I don't know her. There's a woman named Beth Ann Coleman. She's been the school administrator for 17 plus years under Oswald. Currently, she knows everything there is to know about cleaning schools. I would encourage you, and I will email anybody with meg.walsh@gmail. When you hear her talk about the budget, you hear from someone who has no political interest, who has nothing personal to gain from this. And you hear from a woman who knows everything there is to know, who makes stones due to inflationary costs. When I hear her talk, no offense, I'm like, can everybody who's talking, please over to her and not And not, if you care, I don't know. I really think that everybody should think about this, because she's working with budget every day, has been for 17 years. I think that is somebody that we really could rely upon for this. My second actual question is that, you have been really, I've heard you say, Mayor, in meetings, to superintendent, you've got my cell phone, why don't you call me? You won't talk to me, You've also admitted that you stopped speaking during the referendum, things really went south, you're not really talking, and I've heard long-term residents say that even when Oswald was here, there's always been this tense relationship. Can you assure us here with something concrete that with this proposal, that we could turn a new leaf? And really meant, because it's hurting the town that you two cannot think. And I'm not saying that, but
Let's see. Let me-
it's hurting the image, social media discourse, the headlines, people want to move here and see what's happening in schools, it's hurtful.
I hear you, okay? And all I can say to you is I called, I reached out after we got this plan together, I reached out, is it yesterday? To try to get a meeting up right away because this meeting was coming up. They're available tomorrow, okay? I have reached out before the last referendum, I reached out to the super and the president then and said, Wednesday, whatever happens after election day, we're ready to get to work. I have contacted them about space that was available, that maybe we could do something together with space. I am trying, the plan that we're putting together is one that kind of coerces hard partnership, okay? Kind of joining in the hip in a number of ways, okay? So yes, I get it, I understand, but I also listen, Scott Oswald and I, we disagreed about stuff, but we still talk about stuff. Like we disagree about stuff, we can still talk about stuff. And that's absolutely, we're trying to get that to make that work. We're gonna have disagreements, okay? But we still want to be able to talk about it, okay? Oops. Yes.
So, we've kind of reiterating some of the things that have been said, but I've legitimately done my homework. I've read the communications that have been made public by both sides. I've looked at all the websites, and, I'd like to ask the BOE representatives that are here to please not say, go look on our website, we've published the data. There's a request for this taxpayer base to spend their very, very hard-earned money on an extra $3 million. We are all thrilled to support our schools and support our teachers, and I cannot wait until our teachers have a contract. They will amazing work. I'm looking for money, and we'd love to support. You have to come openly with data and say, here's every cent, mayor, commissioners, townspeople, here's where we want to spend the money, exactly, per se. And not, please go see our 2023 published numbers. That's unacceptable. We need to do due diligence as a cohort. We need to do it together. And we cannot do due diligence with, go see the numbers online that you may or may not understand, because I personally am not an expert in school finance.
To kind of reiterate one of the points earlier, after you have your meeting tomorrow with the school board, can you come back and actually create a joint committee that includes both the Board of Education and the borough? And then come back to such a point, so that we can speak to both of you together. And then ask some questions and understand the plan you have, because I can come up with creative solutions, like the lady ahead, joint use agreements, all of those, collective trash collecting, all of those are great ideas. I would like to see what you propose, but for example, like there's a school transportation, we can bring in outside grants such as the USDA grant, that $500,000 grant that we can apply for. So that we're not paying out to school lunch, serve, instead we can bring in some of the capacity to provide good lunches to our students. And that's just one thing, right? And so we look just like for our borough and for our school board to work together, because you represent us and we believe you do good work. We just want you working together and coming back to us and providing that good service.
Oh, okay. And listen, have you read the plan already? Okay, because stay tuned, okay? And I know the timing of this didn't work, okay? We would much rather be going through, wish we had that meeting yesterday and could go through all this with you tonight to have a meaningful discussion. It didn't work that way. The way this whole process is run is like the information flow has gone way out ahead of like the public meeting schedules, okay? So stay tuned. Our intention is after we meet with the board, like the plan, it's gonna be out, you're gonna see, okay?
And that being said, we do have a meeting with the board publicly on Monday.
Monday night.
Monday night. Where?
Wherever their meetings are. Cafeteria, I presume. Yeah.
Together, yes.
We're invited to talk, yes. All right, that's all we had. Yes.
Thank you, yeah, just to second what the individual said, and basically what you were just talking about, my question was how do we talk to the board? Because they're obviously a key party that's missing from this conversation, so thank you for providing that information, and yeah, more conversations with you all and the board, I think would be very helpful. My other, for my, question is more of a clarifying question, and this is likely already addressed. So apologies if there have been a lot of numbers and a lot of information. But it seems like the tax increases that are happening for many residents in town due to the property assessment, that has no bearing on the conversation. That's what I'm gathering. But I don't totally understand why, but I'm hearing that that has no bearing, even though the old taxes are going up probably like $2,000 a year.
So
Because a third of the taxes are going up, a third are staying the same, and a third are going down. It's tax neutral reassessment. So it doesn't cause an increase in taxes.
So it's collecting the same, say it's $100, okay? It's collecting the same $100. The old assessments have you paying 50 and me paying 50, okay? Now we do a reval and your home has doubled in value and my home is worth a little less. Okay, so we take that $100 and now you're paying 75 and I'm paying 25. It's the same $100. It doesn't generate any new money. It just reallocates who's paying. Okay, so your first part was, yes, this increase, whatever the estimates you got on that, this goes on top of it. Okay. Former school board member,
I'm a senior citizen with a reval entire.
former school board member, is he glad he left, huh?
Yeah, but now I'm rethinking things, No, my question, concern is about who's going to manage it. It's obvious from the last couple of budgets that the superintendent and the people in that office do not have the ability to manage.
We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that.
No, it's your opinion. Go ahead, you can it. Go ahead.
So my concern is, where is that management come from? Because if you know, and as the former board member, when I was for every year, you voted for the school budget, you the people. Budgets were getting turned down, which is why they went to the 2% tax. But the board has the ability to put out a budget or vote that would take it to higher monies above that 2%. And this board didn't. So I have a problem with who's going to manage it. It's a joint process, but is that, or hopefully you will ask for some oversight or some input, how this is going to be managed. There's no doubt that we have to do something to save the district right now. But as Mr. Lewandowski said, it's gonna be the kind of thing where we come back every year asking for $3 million.
Listen, with this plan we're putting forward, our goal here is that the borough is not involved in running the school. Okay, and it's set up in a way that the school district still operates on their own. And that's not just because I don't wanna have to go learn any school stuff, it's because it just operates better if kind of everybody stays in their
No,
lane.
I
okay?
understand that from my time on the board.
We work together and help each other, but we got police, fire, pick up the trash. They,
All right. We have the board asking that question anyway.
that's you asked. We'll come around.
So the opinion that the problems are at the state level?
Problems are all over.
No, I know that. But are you of the opinion that the state formula needs to change in order for them not to come back to you?
Oh, yeah, listen, it's even more basic to change the state formula, what Rob was saying, like. Funding schools out of listen, the whole property tax system's crazy. Like, it's, just a I'm probably the only one in this room that's like, I have people come to me every year, like crying, because they have to move. Okay, because they raised their family, they live in their house for a long time, they have to go because they can't afford the taxes, okay?
And just so people.
So, it's really hard, like, people wanna live in place, they wanna stay, they wanna age where they raise the kids, but because everything is based on this property tax system, it's got no relationship to your ability to pay. It's based on, have you done great things taking care of your house? And so your values through the roof, okay? So it's,
The state funding formula has to change.
the way we fund schools has to change.
Now, here's the question, until that happens, we're stuck with the problem.
Oh, yeah.
On the low, and I just feel like a lot of people don't understand the problem. So when people are like, what are they gonna do with this $3 million? Like, this is nobody's fault.
Right.
It's underfunded. The entire formula is broken. I just think there's some older people in the community that they don't understand, it's nobody's fault. Okay, so just, and I also want to point people, if people haven't already been there, to bridgethegapcall.com. That's Steve and Bridget's work. I feel like you guys should be referencing that every opportunity. Bridge the Gap call. It's presented in a just impeccable way. I have studied it. I also would love to blame someone, but there's no one to blame. It's no one person's fault. The formula is broken. I'm with that lady over there. I want to get involved at the state level, but until that happens, we all need to come together and solve this right now. And we got to do something for the next 5 years. Like, you can't say that. Okay.
You got it. Like, somebody else has the mic? Yep, there you go. You might turn it off. Hit it again.
I'll do it.
Be loud, go ahead.
You might regret that you gave me the mic. So, well, first, I just wanted to say thank you, to the commissioners for, making progress in connecting with the board. Because I think we can all agree that collaboration is needed. And I, just in my short time, getting re-engaged, I'm being positive, so I'm happy about that. I will be at the BOE meeting on Monday. I hope a lot of my fellow citizens will be there. And as I've been here almost 19 years as a property owner, before that I was a renter at Parkview. And I do not want my property taxes going up anymore. And I'm in that group where my property taxes are going up already because of the reassessment. So, and I was asked by many of my immediate neighbors to represent them and voice that they also don't want their property taxes going up anymore. So I really hope that this collaboration with the BOE is going to include some discussions about hard choices. Because I think we can all agree that it doesn't, we can't just keep raising the taxes to fill the gap because none of us will be able to afford to live here. Then what are we gonna do, right? So we have to make hard choices as a town. And I really hope that it's not about controlling $3.5 million. I'm sure it's not. Just saying it out loud. That's check. Okay, great. And, like several other residents, I would also like to be, helping in additional capacity. However, you need additional volunteers. Whether you need financial expertise or whether you need, advocates or we need, whatever it is you need, community activism. How about we start a community volunteer group that we can then start, I'm right from that up, but what if we were to have people sign up and list some things that they're good at? And then maybe the borough would have an idea of, oh, wow, we've got a full list of people that want to volunteer. We need somebody with experience or desire to help. We could, have a solution follow. So we're here to, you asked us to share our feedback. That is some of my feedback. I don't want my property taxes raised anymore. I would like to work together to find a solution. I'm willing to volunteer my time to help that. Thanks
So,
for hearing.
You got it. So you spoke so long, you have to get your name and address now. It's an inside joke. What is your name? What is your first
I
name?
don't want to be doxxed, maybe just.
So Crystal is the new chair. The volunteer committee.
Don't tell my assistant.
Is he watching? I'll get closer to it if you need to let him know. All right, what else? Anything else?
Oh, yeah. I just share, if you want to do anything at the state level, there's the New Jersey Fair Funding Collective. It's something that's being run by the Patton Township president of their board of ed. It is a local organization. South Jersey is being hit the hardest by these funding formula issues, and they are doing a lot of great advocacy work. So if you want to do something today, you can go sign up for all of their information. They have a lot of great stuff.
So all of you just online, Bridget, Steve, okay, the famous Steve and Bridget, here they are. Okay, yes, Vivian. What's that? Oh, my bad, I'm sorry, man, yeah, come on. When the guy has this here, this Facebook, the same thing, my bad, Jake. Go ahead. To me, Stuart. It's just your question.
Right. Well, I should have, well,
Whatever, comment, whatever that, all right.
I'm a new kid on the block, so I've only been here since 1980. And I'm almost 73. So listen, I've been an activist, I guess, most of my life. So rent 10 buses, 20 buses, get everybody to town, take them up to the state house, then you'll get there.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
I think I think the big thing that everyone is here for is solutions. What do solutions look like? And I understand that you guys have a number of things that you have on the table, you're working with stuff, and I completely understand that sometimes it takes a little bit of just like, let's get this deal done for you, prevent it, like you said, you have conflict. What have other towns that have faced similar shortfalls? What have been successful solutions that they have implemented? So that we can see what other people have done in terms of solutions. So that we can decide whether or not we want to replicate those things, or if that's not something that's appropriate for our community. So yeah, what are other things?
Sure, you got it.
So you can answer that, right?
So
40 clients?
So that. Yeah, so, okay, yeah, well, I don't know that Mike's ever had any other Board of Education ask for $3 million.
You know, unfortunately, statewide, there are school districts that are closing schools and selling them, increasing class sizes, reducing courtesy busing, reducing after-school activities, eliminating educational areas. That's what they're doing. There are some smaller districts are going into non-operating status where they're just sending their kids to another district. They are doing things also like shared services, but in a $3 million, or if it's a $3.5 million hole right now, there's only so far that goes, but there aren't, until the funding formula is rectified, there aren't a lot of solutions that anyone's going to have.
Honest, I know the timing doesn't work, and I know we keep talking about this plan and building up so much, but it's coming out, okay? All right, once we get through the board, it's out. But you have a mic around back there, Mike? Oh, okay. There you go.
Gentlemen asked for solutions. This is not going to be popular, but
Cherry Hill, that's the referendum. I would be, I was not sure, that's the referendum. And so, we could have to spend more, and I know that sucks. But blaming Jim, blaming the mayor, blaming the board, it's not gonna get us anywhere, like, the fundamental reason that we're all here today is because our schools are underfunded, and that's a really, really complex problem. There's state formulas, we sat through this accountant's presentation that I don't understand, and it's a lot of numbers and this, that, or the other. But the bottom line is, I've said this before, there's no bad guy. The school district is not looking to pocket $3 million to do nefarious things with. Mike, we're here, the union's here.
You're doing the nefarious thing.
No, nobody's doing nefarious things. Like, everyone wants to pay the teacher, everyone wants our schools not to come anymore. It's gonna cost money, that's the bottom line. And the sooner we get our heads wrapped around that, the sooner we'll stop pointing fingers and yelling at each other.
Okay, thanks. We're gonna be wrapping up, gang, okay? Get past my bedtime.
Have a suggestion.
Sure.
You know, when you balance and then they tell me, this is what's possible to do. And then there's 3,500 cars in the world that is paying, if it's that, they even know the taxes. Well, why wouldn't we entertain like doing that in restaurants? You know, a lot of restaurants, where people go out to dinner, you don't have to go out to dinner. It's something, it's a wonderful thing. You spend it, I don't know, $75 a person, doing $1 or $2 for that. That would add up. But nobody.
So just so everybody can hear, the issue is, the question that's being raised by Beth is just simply, could we start thinking about doing like additional charges on things, okay? Like hotel charges for all different things, that this would be, for restaurants, there's like, you know, $1 local fee gets added on, something like that. The difficulty with that is the state sets what we're allowed to charge and collect. Okay? That ain't one, okay? We can't, we're allowed to assess an additional tax on hotels, literally hotels. So there can be, in a lot of places in New Jersey, you'll go, there's a local tax that's added in, certain percentages on your bill. But we can't just, we are limited to property taxes, that's about it. We can get parking out of the parking meters, but, you know, that's all we can do. So that's a new special statute, and it says cannabis, we get 2%. Yeah, we get 2% on, Sandy's just reminded me, the number from the place where we have in town now, we're estimating that 2% would be about 40 grand a year for us, coming to us. So it's not gonna solve stuff, it's not gonna solve stuff, okay? All right. I'll tell you what, you went already, we'll be back to you, but let me do somebody else, okay? Here you go.
But it's a good. I was thinking, so I was gonna say that a lot of us are, a lot of us are educated, but not educated in school budgets, and it's really confusing, so to say to people that this is of course what it's going to, it's not common sense to a lot of us. And I would like to know where the $3 million is going to, you know, we quoted a referendum that was turned down. I want to know that this money is going to settle the teacher's contract and not to buying good stuff. Actually, because that's the number one priority. And so I don't think it is unreasonable for the public to want to know that this money is definitely going to the teachers first before it's going to anything else in the district.
I got you, thank you, thank you, yes, that's.
Maybe just to piggyback on that for a minute, I'm kind of happy that you're gonna be managing our $3 million if that's what happens.
That's not how it works,
Well,
I give it over.
I would rather have that, I'm a little uncomfortable with leadership of our school board right now. Mainly because I've been a teacher, I have my kids are teachers. You don't lose the amount of teachers you lost in this school district, I've been with for 15 to 20 years, unless something's a steer in the school board. So I think that's You have to be leaders, and again, whatever you guys do, I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, I'm coming up, I promise. We're going to circle. This is the last couple of comments, all right, folks, we're gonna wrap up.
Mr. Mayor, you've seen both here and in retrospect sincere in your efforts to communicate with the DOE. Okay, I get that. I'm not getting anything from the DOE. The gentleman said there's no bad guy here, but in terms of talk and communication, which I feel is really a priority, not in here and around the world, they're not looking like a good guy to me.
Okay, well, we're talking tomorrow. Thank you. All right, we're talking tomorrow. Oh, okay. I know, I promise.
Yeah, so we either need more money or spend more money. And I was like, we need to regrade because we're going to ask for $10 million. School district are confused with what is needed to run the school. And if we're losing teachers, it's because they cannot be paid at. And the $3 million isn't to flourish, it's to exist. So that isn't a problem that is specific to Collingswood. That is a problem that is pervasive throughout our country. And the way that we can, if there's a way to make more money within the town, I don't know, can I turn my garage into an ADU and rent it on Airbnb and pay it back to the town? Everybody hates that. But if you don't want to pay more taxes, are there other solutions that we can think about? The other piece is, if you don't know, if you just have to think differently about how this is happening. And how whatever happens, if it ends up being a tax levy deficit, we look at the 5-year plan, we look at the 10-year plan, what does that impact? We look at what it's gonna do to seniors. I bought one of the most expensive houses in Collingswood in 2023. That is not to brag. That is to showcase my commitment and my investment in the future of this school of this town. And I want to commit that if this happens, if taxes go up and it's going to run people out of town, especially during a time where the interest rates are so high, you triple your interest rate to move to another town, the cost of moving, really what is the net impact on the average person? But if this goes through, I commit myself, if there are specific seniors that are struggling to pay the before they get their reimbursement, I will go to a bank and I will figure out the state rate. So I just don't want this to, like, I think we need to put down our pitchfork and pick up our shovel and dig in on this together instead of it being this us against them.
All right, last one of the night. It's the end, Lindsay, make it really good, Linz. We expect a closing number a little bit.
I'm not that. And I just want to say, as not a senior citizen, I've owned a house in this town for 14 years. I can't afford for my taxes to increase $671 a year. So, you know, it's not just the senior citizens. I work, my husband works, I've got 2 kids, there is public schools. There's no way that we could stay in this town with our taxes. Okay, that was my.
Okay, go ahead.
I was curious if the 2% cap, I know in order to raise the 2% cap, the district would have to go out for a referendum in order to raise that tax. If they were to do that, do you happen to know the timeline around that? Is that like another September referendum or that some other time? You might not know the answer, I can ask that.
Well, in this schedule, there'd be one in September. And it's the regular dates of the school. Regular dates. Okay, all right. Thank you all. No, thank you all so much. You can talk after. Thank you all so much for coming out. We'll talk. We can talk. I appreciate the tone and the way everything went. Thank you. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm still grand out. Yeah, but I'm retired. I'm gonna live in Ocean City.
That's nice.
And my son's gonna be in my place, so.
That's nice.
Yeah, thanks. How you doing? And puppy? You doing good? I see you around, you know, doing this thing.
Doing good. Thank
Great,
you for asking.
great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi, Kat. Oh, there's always trouble. Yeah. Good. Have a motor too. Oh, yeah. Both lines.
You're bugging out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah, same here. Hi. Oh, my God.